Good morning. Welcome to L.I.N.K Live. I know it's a new time. We're just trying to kind of mix it up a little bit, but my name is Marina Mayer, Editor-in-Chief of Food Logistics and Supply and Demand Chain Executive.
And I'm Brielle Jekyll, the Associate Editor.
And I am Mackenna Morales, and I am the Assistant Editor.
And today we're talking about the labor shortage, we're talking about driver shortage, and we're talking about how retailers are mitigating port congestion. So there's a lot of things going on. First off, I kind of want to dive into the labor shortage overall before McKenna dives in specifically to the driver shortage in particular. You know, last week we had our SCN Summit, State of the Supply Chain Week, and it was fantastic. And pretty much most of our sessions touched on labor shortage of some kind. You know, last year during a pandemic, everyone wanted to work in the supply chain. You know, they wanted to be an essential worker in a field that was sustainable, you know, even during a global crisis. But today, you know, that's just not the case. These young professionals, they're choosing jobs outside of the supply chain for a variety of reasons. And in our Friday session, I sat down with industry experts from the Global Cold Chain Alliance and the American Transportation Research Institute. And we polled the audience. We had such an active audience that morning. Everybody had their coffee. It was fantastic. And we asked them, what is your company doing to attract new talent? Number one was a tie, and it came in as implementing a flexible work-life balance and providing the right training and upskilling. And I thought it was interesting because these are two entirely different things. You're talking about a flexible work schedule, which if you're in the trucking industry, we have learned that that may not be existent, but they're working on it. But it, you know, allowing parents to be available for their kids, allowing people to just have time off or just have a, you know, that balance that everybody kind of needs for mental stability. But then you're talking about needing the right training and skills to be able to move up through the company or move up through the field in general. Following close behind in second place was installing technologies and solutions that make employees' jobs safer and easier. So I thought that was very interesting. But the labor shortage, it's not just impacting trucking. I'm currently putting the finishing touches on our July cover story for food logistics on food service distribution. And the labor shortage is impacting warehousing. It's impacting restaurants. It's impacting the grocery retailers. I did an interview with the International Food Service Distributors Association for this cover story. And they say that there's an estimated 17,500 plus warehouse positions and 15,000 plus driver positions currently open. And in that same IFTA survey, 100% of those respondents indicated it was difficult or extremely difficult to find both warehouse and driver positions. And that's despite the pay being well above national averages. So I'm going to end it there. If you want to learn more, register to watch the on-demand version of Friday's SCN Summit. You can go to scnsummit.com. Also keep an eye out for Food Logistics July issue, which covers that among other very hot topics. So McKenna, I'm going to kind of hand things over to you because you wrote a blog this morning about driver shortage in specific. So I'm going to hand things over to you.
Yeah, so we have talked about the driver shortage for years and years. In 2019, there was a stat that said that 1.1 million new drivers would need to be added over the next years in order to just keep up with e-commerce demand. And that was in 2019, so it doesn't even account for the COVID pandemic and how much things increased then. But a lot of companies have started adding incentives. So, for example, the Roadmasters Driver School has opened a new training facility in Columbus, Ohio. Like you mentioned, Marina, things a lot more flexible for drivers too, so that they can stay at home as well. But then back in 2019 and early 2020, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration announced that it was accepting applications for a program that allows 18 to 20-year-olds who possess the U.S. military equivalent of a commercial driver's license to operate large trucks in interstate commerce. So right now, younger people that are under the age of 21 can't drive. can't get the CDL license. So this allows them to do that as long as they have that military background. But not only with all these other incentives, pay is a huge, huge deal. I believe in 2020, driver compensation still ranked as a top 10 issue in the ATRI report. So just yesterday, JK Moving Services announced that it is increasing its annual guaranteed income for experienced Class A CDL drivers to a minimum of $100,000. So we have a plan B if journalism doesn't work out, guys. But
I think that that's important because, when I talk to all of these guys, during SCN Summit, it's they're all like, well, the pay is good, but then there's other things that people don't really understand as to, the perks and benefits of that. They just think of like, I don't want to be a truck driver. I don't want to drive across the country. And that's just not what it's about these days. And there's so many more benefits to it. But yeah, changing some of the driving age, changing some of these regulations. And I know that a lot of the associations we talk to are in talks with Congress and with their federal government and with their local governments to try to make some changes. So hopefully that will make things a little bit easier for these young folks.
Right. And with the age change rule too, like viewers, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe if you're under a certain age, you can't drive across state lines.
Correct.
And where I live in Wisconsin, it only takes like an hour to get to Illinois. So it would be a cheaper trip than it would take for me to get to like Milwaukee or to other big cities as well.
Yeah, that's a very, very true point. I'm very close to the Wisconsin border. And as you know, I'm about 40 minutes from the Wisconsin border. So in Illinois. So yeah, I'm closer to the Wisconsin border than I am to the city of Chicago. So yeah, it's very interesting. So hopefully we'll see. Port congestion. I'm going to pass things over to you, Brielle, so you can talk about port congestion.
Obviously, it's not anything new. We've been dealing with it for the last year. There's been so much happening since COVID. We talk about shortages literally every week. And it's hard to find something in my blog to talk about that's not a shortage. But apparently, we haven't even seen the worst of it yet. So we had the Suez Canal debacle, which was, all over the news and such a big deal. But what's even worse now is that there's a COVID outbreak in parts of China that's causing one of the most major ports to shut down because of an increase in COVID cases. So we're about to see so many new shortages because I feel like the main consumer, the main person isn't realizing how much we rely on ocean freight, because it seems almost like an outdated, it seems like that's how they did it before airplanes and trucks and things like that. But we really rely on ocean freight a lot more than we realize. And that's why we're seeing so many shortages, because all of these issues are coming from these ports. And so retailers are kind of left scrambling because it's been a year of these crazy shortages and, they don't want to deal with it anymore. And now it's only going to get worse. So we have people looking for new ways of, coming around this. So Home Depot is literally creating its own container ship that's going to be completely dedicated to them and their retailer. So they're not, outsourcing all this stuff. And I think we're going to see a lot of retailers follow this kind of new way of trying to get things from overseas. It definitely makes a case for reshoring some more. It's been a huge conversation this past year, but like I said in previous L.I.N.K lives, it's difficult because you can't always. It's like a steel comes from one area of the world, and it's not as easy for us to, create that steel in America. So it's like we got to find this balance of nearshoring rather than completely reshoring. To our within the United States, we need to focus on like countries that are closer to us and having that balance and to kind of stop these gaps. I mean, these are severe disruptions, and like I said, it's only going to get worse.
That's unfortunate, but also I believe you are very, very, very correct.
Mm-hmm.
So open to hearing from everybody else that are watching. You can put in the comments, you can reach out to us. We offer lots of opportunities to get your voice heard, to kind of help us educate our readers on what's going on in the industry now and in the future. So make sure you subscribe to Brielle's L.I.N.K podcast channel. Make sure you keep an eye out for our July cover story and July issue in general for food logistics. And make sure you go to scnsummit.com so you can register for a lot of our on-demand sessions. So thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at our next L.I.N.K Live next Wednesday at 11 a.m. Central. I promise we won't change the time on you. We'll keep it as is. Just like to keep people on our toes. So thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.